It's time for the scoreboard with Greg Glasscock and Chris Bouldin.
Welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Blitz, the scoreboard. Made it through county finals, through media days for baseball, softball, and we appreciate all the sponsors and all those that came out and participated in it from all the high schools with the coaches and players. It was a busy day there with the county tournament. I know you was there for the JV boys and for the varsity girls and varsity boys games. Some pretty good games. I know that's probably, Greg, the most people I've ever seen for the county tournament in State in all the years of going to it.
Yeah, by the time the varsity boys game started, I heard somebody say it's a good thing the fire marshal's not here. It was a heck of a crowd. Yeah, I started off, I did play-by-play for the freshman boys and then the two JV games, and then I stayed for the two varsity. And, it was a clean sweep for Albertville. It was so hot in that gym, but I was actually talking to one of the freshman boys coaches that I interviewed after the game, which was the first game. It started at 1, and he said he had never seen such a crowd for a freshman boys game. And then he kind of laughed and said, I think all these people didn't come to see us. I think they came to get a good seat for the rest of the day. And there was a pretty big crowd there early that day.
Yeah, there was. There definitely was. So, like you said, we want to say congrats to all the Albertville teams. Like I said, they swept it. But definitely congratulations to the AHSAA and the Guntersville teams that made it there. They were all very good teams, well deserving of getting there. Some really good basketball all week. So with that, let's jump over. Let's look in the area. Let's kind of get an idea. I know most of the areas are set for the area tournament coming up here within the next week. So let's jump into this and look. So we'll look at 3A, Area 14 really quick. Currently right now, Asbury is sitting at the number 2 seed in boys. They're 4-3. Brindley Mountain is the 5 seed at 0-7. With Whitesburg Christian at the top for that area. When it comes to the girls, Whitesburg Christian again is at the top there. They're 7-1 with Asbury at the 2 spot. And Asbury's girls have played really, really well. They played really well during the tournament. Just had an off night there that one night. And AHSAA, really, I was shocked at how bad AHSAA beat them that night, honestly. Brindley Mountain's there in the 4 seed at 2-6. So Asbury's girls playing really, really well. I know the boys are playing well as well. So want to wish them good luck coming up in the area tournament. With 4A, we have a DAR in there for the girls and the boys here. For the girls' side, Plainview is number 1 at 7-0. Plainview, of course, top-ranked team, only 2 losses on the year. But you got DAR in the 3 seed there at 2-3. Then on the boys' side, you have, again, Plainview's in the 1 seed there. They're 7-0. And DAR's boys are 2-4. They're also in the 3 seed there coming up. So jumping now into 5A Area 13, this has always been a pretty contested one between Boaz, Douglas, Sardis, and Crossville.
That region's actually finished up, or that area.
Right.
Boaz played at Sardis Friday when a lot of games got moved up because of weather. They still played Friday. Sardis actually beat Boaz.
Yeah, it's not showing. It's not showing on the boys' side, but it is the girls' side. The girls' side is showing where they've swept the area. They're 6-0, so they'll host it. So Sardis will host both boys and girls this year. Boaz is the 2 seed on the girls' side, with Douglas being the 3 seed and Crossville being the 4 seed. So then jumping to Area 14 with the boys and girls for that. That'll be your Guntersville, AHSAA, Scottsboro, Fairview group. So on the boys' side, again, Guntersville there, they'll host area for it. They're 6-0 at the top there, with AHSAA being the looks like the 2 seed, and Scottsboro would be the 3 seed. Both of them are at 3-3, but whatever the tiebreaker is there, it's right now it's showing AHSAA at the top. Again, now they may have to do a coin flip or something, but either way, they're both at 2 or 3. It doesn't matter in our situation. So looks like you'll have Guntersville will play Fairview in the first, and then AHSAA and Scottsboro will play in the second round. In the other side there to play winner play Guntersville and Fairview. So girls side, you got Scottsboro will host the girls side. Guntersville will be the 2 seed there. AHSAA will be the 3 seed, and then Fairview will be the 4 seed. So with that, that's a tough one. You got Scottsboro in there. There's everybody's back from last year. As you and I were talking just off before we started the podcast, Greg, here, that's going to be even a tougher sub-region to go into for whoever wins. And then, whoever ends up, having to travel, that makes it tough. I think you said there's possibility of having to travel to Crossville.
Yeah, right now, Priceville and East Limestone is tied for first. They each beat each other. So I don't know if it's a coin flip or what, but either Priceville or East Limestone will host Area 16. So whoever travels to one of those, whether they win the coin flip or whatever, it's going to be tough. And I'm not going to say Guntersville can't win at Scottsboro, but Scottsboro's girls are awfully tough. And with them hosting, it's going to be very tough to go over there and win. So, my prediction would be Scottsboro's girls will probably host a sub-region. Guntersville girls will probably be the ones to travel, even though I'd like to see it the other way. We'll see. But, Scottsboro's girls returning everybody and all. They are a handful. And the other night they went to Bob Jones, ranked third in 7A and won. So they're just a tough team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, then let's jump to 7A. It's Albertville there, so they will be. It looks like for the boys' side, they're going to be traveling to Huntsville. They're going to play Sparkman. Between them and Sparkman, it's Sparkman's the 2 seed, Albertville's the 3 seed. Grissom will be the 4 seed. I talked to some of the boys from Albertville the other day, and they said both the Sparkman game and the Huntsville game, when they played, they lost those last two here recently. So I don't know that this is reflecting that or not yet, but with that, I know they said they just did not shoot the ball really well at Huntsville, which I'm going to be honest with you, every time I've seen anybody travel to Huntsville, you don't see a lot of high scoring out of Huntsville. School's going to play at Huntsville there. They just struggle shooting the ball there. So, that'll be that one. So the girls' side, Albertville will host the girls' side. They're 5-0. They beat Sparkman again the other night. So with that, they're going to be the 1 seed. Looks like Sparkman will be the 2 seed, Huntsville will be the 3 seed, and Grissom will be the 4 seed. So, right now, after watching Laney and all them the other night, and Miley and all them at county, they're seemingly clicking on all cylinders right now coming out of the county tournament. So,
yeah,
run of the regions, we would think.
I easily see it again being the same thing that happened at the Northeast Regional last year. I think probably in the region finals, you're going to probably see another, on the girls' side, Albertville, Hoover type final to advance to state. That's what it was last year. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what it is again this year, because I don't see Albertville's girls in the area tournament having a problem.
Yeah, that's kind of me. I don't see anybody kind of giving them any fits. They were up, I think it was Sparkman the other night was the one I was watching briefly, and they were up 40 points on them nearly. And it just, they had already backed off some by that time. So I don't see anything holding them back right now for them to be another shot at meet Hoover down there again. So,
no, on the boys' side, Albertville, them and Sparkman split this year, each winning at home, and they will play Sparkman at Huntsville High. So I think that game could go either way. I know it sounds crazy and elementary, but naturally whoever shoots better is going to win that game. But I see that one almost being a coin flip, being at a bit of a neutral site for those two. But, the loser of that game, their season's over. Once you start area, that first game, you have to win it. Now, when you make the area finals, you can lose. You get a bit of a mulligan, but you just got to travel in the in a sub-regional.
Yeah, them's win or go home.
That's exactly right. From there on out, winter, your season's done. Get ready for baseball.
Yeah, if you're a spring sport, you get ready for that. If not, you start playing for the fall unless you're a senior.
That's right.
So, yeah, so it'll be interesting. Coming out of that, I know having a lot of these games hosted around here, we'll try to get around and get some information, keep traveling on that. And those start, when is it area starts again, Greg?
I think it is around February the 7th or so. It'll be not next weekend, but like the weekend after next. It's like, I want to say Friday, Monday, and Saturday, Tuesday, something like that for boys and girls. So it'll start next the first weekend, I guess, in February, because the regular season, I believe, officially ends Tuesday, February 3rd, because I know that's when our last game is. So,
Okay.
yeah, so it'll be just a few days after the last regular season games for everybody.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, with that, let's jump in and let's talk a little bit about media days from the softball and baseball side. So, got to meet a lot of the softball and baseball players coming in from the county. Again, want to thank you guys for coming in and just taking some time and letting the media be able to meet you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to the coaches. I know this was the first one that had ever been put on, and talking to some of the coaches that's been around for a long time, and they said they've never had anything like this done. So, thank you guys for coming and participating. We look forward to doing it again next year. But there's going to be a lot of really talented teams in this area in baseball and softball coming in, Greg. A lot of loaded teams. It was interesting to listen to them ask each other, or ask, who are you wanting to really play this year, and hearing the county teams name off other county teams and the city teams name off other city teams. So, it's going to be a lot of heated games going on this year. I know, Guntersville's going through a little bit of a changeover. We're hoping to get Coach Rasmus in here to do an interview here in the next few weeks. We've got to get that lined up and get him in. He wasn't able to be with us that weekend. He was out of town. So, but it's going to be some talented baseball going on and talented softball going on this year.
Be a fun time, and I say it all the time, but unfortunately, the folks that play different spring sports, I feel like a lot of times they get overlooked very easily, compared to especially football and basketball. So it's good to give them a little publicity and support them, because they work just as hard as people in, athletes in other sports do.
That they do. And with that, we kind of hinted on Friday when we put out the announcement for the reclassification and how the state was going to do that. We put a little hint that there was something else coming. So with that, just to give everybody a heads up, on January 31st, we'll be hosting a media day for the county tennis teams and the county soccer teams. Some of the coaches reached out to us and asked us if we could, possibly put that on for them. And we said we'd love to if we worked in before the season. And so we want to tell them we appreciate them for reaching out to us. And so we've been able to get that together. The formal schedule will be out by Sunday night, to be able to see what time all the teams will be up and everything like that. But that'll start at 1:00 on Saturday afternoon, the 31st, and it'll run till late. I think the last one is scheduled at 8:00 that night. So, but you'll have your defending state champs in Guntersville coming in from 5A for soccer there, and so it'll be a good little time to get some conversation in with these guys, and again shine some light on some of these athletes that, like you were saying, Greg, that don't get a lot of spotlight put on it.
Well, that's great, because tennis, unfortunately, and there's some good high school tennis, but you just don't hear anything about high school tennis from any media outlet or anything that I've ever noticed. And then on the soccer front, there's a lot of good soccer teams. Like you said, we just had a state champion here last year. So, and they work hard. And I tell you what, I try to go to some soccer games, but when it comes to early in the year, I'm a wimp, because they start in early February and it is awfully cold out there. I don't see how they do it, but they do. And they need to get more attention. So that's great to do it for tennis and soccer.
It's a cold time to be playing some tennis and soccer. And we mentioned soccer was state champ. I would have loved to have been able to get in touch with them, but we were trying to kind of keep this first one to the county. So hopefully next year we can spread this out to some more of the viewers. But just down the road, literally just miles down the road from Boaz, Sardis was the state champs in 1 through 5A last year in girls tennis. And so they won it and so I was wanting to hopefully try to be able to pull them in. But because of the time constraints and being able to get it done next Saturday, we wasn't going to be able to have a time slot to put them in. So hopefully next year we'll be able to get them in and bring them apart as well. So, but yeah, so it's an exciting time. Looking forward to it. But we'll kind of go from there. And so with that, we're going to take just a second right here, and we're going to get ready, and we're going to jump into the reclassification side of it and discuss that side. So I know on Friday, AHSAA had a huge meeting, Greg. We've been waiting on this. This was supposed to come out, I believe, December 15th. They pushed it out. So on Friday, they released now that they have redone all the reclassifications now for the next 2 years. So now there are no more private schools. There are 2 private schools that are 2 sectors for private schools. There's a single A division and a double A division. The double A division being your higher caliber private schools like your Mars Hill, Coosa Christian. Some of those have won state titles over the years. So those are divided up there. Then they have the 1A through 6A now. There are no longer a 7A classification in high school athletics for Alabama. Now you have 1 through 6A. Your larger schools are in 6A, and then it drops down and you go into, I believe it's 60-something teams into each one of the classifications for 1 through 5A. And I believe it's 64 is how many they have in each one of them. So with that, let's jump in here and let's look at it really quick. There's a big shakeup. We're going to jump in and look at the volleyball side. We'll look at flag football, and then we'll come back to the one that's the biggest one, which is football side, high school football, so boys football. So with 2A on that side, Area 14 will now be Brindley Mountain. Brindley Mountain is now a 2A team. So they drop down. They will now be in Area 14. In volleyball, they will have Falkville, JB Pennington, and Tanner in there with them. Then in Area 15, you'll now have Collinsville, Fife, Gaston, and Sandrock. So Fife has now dropped from 3A to 2A as well. And then in Area 16 is Ider, North Sand Mountain, Pisgah, and Section. So that'll kind of give you a little tell as to what's going to be coming in with the football side as well. But that's 2A public volleyball. 3A public volleyball. One thing that was a little bit of a shocker, and we'll kind of touch on this a lot more with the football side, but Etowah is now a 3A. When they originally started the school back in the early 90s, they were a 6A, eventually dropped to 5A, then to a 4A, and then now they are classified as a 3A. So they're going to be in 3A Area 12. But with that, some of the schools that are in our area here that we're going to be covering in Area 15, you will now have the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering. Asbury DAR has now dropped. They will no longer be a 4A, but now they'll be in 3A. So you'll have DAR in there as well with them. Then also Madison County and New Hope. That's all Area 15. Then if you jump over to Area 16, we'll go up into some of the Jackson County and DeKalb County teams. In Area 16, Geraldine now will be in that one, along with North Jackson, Plainview, and Sylvania. And again, this is all volleyball. So then we look over to 4A public volleyball. So with that in 4A, in Area 15, I know we touched some of this team. We had a little bit of this team here. We touched on some of them throughout the football season, but Brewer will be Area 15, 4A there, along with Ardmore, Crossville, West Morgan. Area 13, you'll have Fairview. Fairview is now a 4A school. They're no longer a 5A. They dropped to 4A. So you'll have in Area 13, you'll have Fairview, Good Hope, Hayden, and West Point. And then in Area 16, and this is the one that's got a lot of the teams here in our area that's kind of jumped into this one with it. And you'll have Cherokee County, Crossville, Guntersville, and Sardis. So a big drop there for Guntersville and Sardis, dropping down to 4A now, as well as Crossville. Crossville had always had to play up in 5A. They'll be dropping down now to 4A. But those 3 there will play each other along with Cherokee County in Area 16 4A volleyball. Now let's jump over to 5A. So with 5A, a lot more of a shakeup here. This is one that I know we've been hearing some rumblings of, but this one was a big shocker here as well. Let's look at Area 15, 5A public volleyball. First one up is Albertville. Albertville is now going to be a 5A school. They will be in with Boaz, Douglas, and Southside. So that's a big change there now with Albertville dropping down into 5A. Now, if we jump over and we got to go over into Area 12, so with that, that pushes ARAB west. So ARAB now will play kind of more of a central to a western teams in their area. So with that, ARAB will now pick up in Area 12 Coleman, Hartselle, and Jasper. And so for anybody that's in the volleyball game, you know those are some highly top-ranked volleyball teams right there. And that is going to be probably the most competitive volleyball area that you're going to see next to what we've seen over the years of the Guntersville, Boaz, ARAB. So ARAB basically went from one pot where it was hot and trying to fight to try to get out of that to make state every year to now jumping over into another one. Because I know over the years, Hartselle has been known for being top ranked and winning state titles and making it to the state. Jasper as well. And then Coleman has always been a really, really highly competitive and athletic team. So this is going to be interesting to see in the fall how these girls are going to do in these new areas and see how this is all going to shake up. And again, this is for the next 2 years. So this is locked in where we're at for the next 2 years. So with that, let's jump over and let's look at 5A public football because we don't have any teams in 1 through 4A, and that's how they have that classified. Then it goes 5A and then 6A. So with 5A, we only have 2 teams currently that were eligible to be able to make the season this year. I know there are some other teams that are trying to put something together, but they were not able to get it done in time to be able to file to play in the fall of this upcoming 2026 year. But we have Albertville and we have Boaz. So they will be in Region 8. You'll have Albertville and you'll have Boaz along with Columbia, Lee, and May Jemison for girls 5A flag football. So with that, that's going to be, again, something to be watching. I know both those teams were really good this year, but Albertville had to play on a higher classification level and Boaz had to play on a lower classification level. Now they're together. Now they got to fight out of that to be able to make the state and be able to get themselves ranked into the state playoffs. So that'll be something really interesting to be able to see and kind of go from there. So with that, let's make a transition and let's jump over into boys football. So again, like we mentioned a while ago, Brindley Mountain has dropped to 2A. So Brindley Mountain now will be it's going to be a pressure cooker. Not like one other one that we'll talk about here shortly, but for 2A, this is going to be a pressure cooker right here to be in. So it's going to be Region 8. You'll have Brindley Mountain, Collinsville, Fife, Ider, North Sand Mountain, Pisgah, Sand Rock, and Section. So that's going to be a pretty tough little region to be in. But now I'm going to tell you something. Brindley Mountain, with some of the teams in the past they've had, they very easily could compete in this region. So it's just going to see how well the other teams are, how they stack up for the year. But this should make it a very competitive balance for them for 2A. So with that, let's jump now into 3A. So with 3A, again, we mentioned a while ago with volleyball, the teams that had dropped from 4A down into 3A, the ones that had stuck around. Again, we'll be Region 8 here, 3A boys football. You'll have Asbury, Geraldine, DAR, Madison County, New Hope, North Jackson, Plainview, and Sylvania. So with that, Greg, that puts Asbury in another, it's a pretty tough little region again, but you know, there's some possibility there that they might could pull something off if they could get some things strung together here for football.
Yeah, I mean, just like Brindley Mountain, Asbury's been in tough regions in the past. I mean, they've had to deal with Fife and some others year in, year out. So, yeah, I mean, I'd give them a chance to at least, be competitive in this new alignment.
Yeah, definitely. So then now here, let's get into the last 2. This is where we're going to predominantly spend a lot of our time talking is these last 2, because these were the 2 that were the big shakeup for football. So with 4A, Region 8, you're going to have Brewer, Cherokee County, Crossville, Fairview, Good Hope, Guntersville, Hayden, and Sardis. So with that, you have Crossville, Fairview, Guntersville, and Sardis, and Brewer, all dropping from 5A to now 4A. and they'll all be in there together. So this is going to be a pretty tight little region again as well. This should be a pretty good one. You got a tough Cherokee County team that's been known for making runs to the state in the playoffs. The one that's exciting to me, Greg, and I know it is for another community, is Crossville. We've not heard of a Crossville varsity football team in, I believe, 4 years.
Yeah. It's good to have them back. Yeah.
Yeah, so now they're finally back. It's like I said, somewhere around 4 to 6 years since we've had a Crossville football team. Crossville was always known of having a very competitive, very good team over the years, and so now they're back. And so that's some exciting news for that community. I'm excited to hear it. Definitely want to get some coverage on those guys this year as they're getting back and getting going, and letting everybody know about that. So, but what are your thoughts on this region here, Greg, with Guntersville and Sardis dropping out away from the AHSAA, Boaz, Douglas region, Scottsboro region, dropping into this 4A region here?
I always heard rumors that Guntersville could go to 4A, and I was already trying to think of teams that they would have to play in their region, and some of those are some that I thought about. And first thing I think of, it's going to be a lot more travel. It seems like as a region, it's a lot more spread out. There's going to be some good competition. I've seen some comments on social media saying Guntersville should run away with it. As Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. I do think Guntersville is supposed to actually be down next year. Of course, seems like they always reload instead of rebuild. We'll see. But there are some tough teams. I mean, Fairview, they went all the way to what? Was it semifinals or quarter semis when Scottsboro beat them? What was that, semis?
They got the quarters.
Quarters. So, Fairview, expect them to have a good nucleus back. Cherokee County is always tough. I don't really know what, Brewer and Sardis is going to have. And then, of course, Crossville just starting a team back up. But you got to look at Good Hope. They gave some folks fits last year. I can't remember how far they made it because I didn't really follow them that closely last year. But I know into the regular season, they took Fairview, I think, down to the wire in a game. So I think it's going to be probably a more competitive region than a lot of people are thinking right now. I wouldn't just go ahead and give the region championship to Guntersville. I think there's a lot of other teams that are going to have something to say about that. Back before Guntersville went to 5A when they used to be 4A, and back when they won the state championship in 2006, them and Cherokee County was a pretty big rivalry. So that'll be a rivalry starting back again, So I'm looking forward to it, even though there's going to be some trips, Hayden's in there too. It's just real spread out the way they did it, which, when you look at the teams that dropped to 4A, I guess they probably did it the best way they could. I hadn't really studied the other 4A regions, so I guess geographically, I don't know if you could really do much better than what they did.
Yeah, if you look at the map, the only other school that was anywhere close in that 4A was it was probably one of the most spread out because the west side is about as spread out, if not even more, because you have all the way from Ardmore all the way to Hamilton in Region 7.
I was really hoping I wasn't going to end up with Ardmore. Been there, done that before. That is a trip and a half. So I am glad that Ardmore is in another region. So I guess they did 4A about as good as you can split it.
Yeah, you could have swapped Hayden or Good Hope for Ardmore if you'd have wanted to. So now with that, you brought up travel. That has been one of the hotly contested things, not only from a public side, but a private side too, because private side, you look at it, there's some of these teams going to be traveling 4 or 5 hours for a ball game. This one is one of the ones that was very interesting to me when we were looking at it. So you have Cherokee County that's all the way over on the east side of the line of the state here, literally within 15, 20 minutes of the Georgia-Alabama line. If you take them and the farthest school west that they have to travel to, you're looking at an almost 2 hour, well, in a bus, it would be a 2 hour ride, if not 2 hours and 15 minutes. In just a car, it's an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours from Good Hope to Cherokee County. That's going to be a haul. You imagine taking that bus in the afternoon, how early they're going to have to leave on a Friday to be able to make that. Then for Hayden, it's an hour and a half from Cherokee County to Hayden.
Well, the thing with Cherokee County almost being on the state line, I've been through there many times before going into that part of Georgia over through Center and all. I mean, I kind of feel for those guys because, I mean, is Cherokee County really close to anybody in that region? I mean, I know Cherokee County to Guntersville is not terrible. I don't know how far it is. Still probably a good little haul depending on which way you go.
The closest school they are to is like Galesville, and then Collinsville. They're all within like a 30-minute range of them. 15 to 30 minutes. Sandra,
all those, but they're not in that region.
Yes, they're close to Gaston, but it's all within 20, 30 minutes. It's still a little bit of a hike. I mean, they're up there all by themselves up there in that corner there at Cherokee County. So, but yeah, so that's going to be an interesting region to watch there, Greg. I'm curious to see. I want to see schedules. I want to go ahead and start marking some games as the weeks come ahead. I want to see start dropping out and everything like that, and kind of go from there. So now 5A. 5A is a big one here. This was the one we talked about earlier. I mentioned this with volleyball. The big school that was the drop was in Region 8. We did not see this. We saw this kind of being talked about and stuff like that. We heard a lot of people rumbling about it. So Region 8, you now have Albertville, AHSAA, Boaz, Columbia, Fort Payne, Lee High School out of Huntsville, Mae Jemison out of Huntsville, and Scottsboro. So as we were talking, this is going to be a pretty good little region here for 5A as well. But I'm going to tell you something, Greg. There's one team that's in that region that if I'm a coach, I'm more concerned with playing than I am anybody else. And a lot of the viewers may be sitting here saying, who, Fort Payne, Scottsboro, no.
There's one team there you don't want to lose to.
Columbia, yes. And everybody for the last entire 2 seasons has not wanted to lose to this team because they have the longest losing streak in the nation. And if you lose to this team, your team is going down the record books with them.
Oh, yeah. And sooner or later,
you don't want to be the coach. Yet. But it will. But now the question is could it happen in this region this year? Because the goal was they were trying to make this more competitive. Could this be the year that Columbia finally gets their win? Because it's been going on 11 years now since they had a win, I believe. So is this going to be interesting? If somebody gives it up this year, who's he going to be? I don't want to be that guy, though.
I tell you what, though, Chris, in that region, without looking at rosters, I think an early team to beat in that region is going to be Fort Payne.
Definitely.
Fort
Payne is very loaded with talent down there. They have a lot coming up, too.
And I think, Fort Payne and Scottsboro, they're a pretty heated rivalry. They play for what they call the Top Cat Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
They could battle for the region title this year. Who knows?
Well, this last year, Fort Payne actually was one of the teams that knocked Scottsboro off in the regular season. One of the few teams that knocked them off in the regular season. Outside of the Brewer game, that Brewer game was.
I'll never that'll be an unsolved mystery how Brewer beat Scottsboro. But yeah, Fort Payne. I mean, Fort Payne's legit. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I don't know how much they've lost off of last year or this year, whatever you want to call its team. But I think they'd be an early favorite, them and Scottsboro. And, with Albertville dropping down from 7A, I know a lot of Albertville folks are excited about that. They should automatically be more competitive. I think they will. And then, of course, you've got AHSAA and Boaz in the mix. So that would definitely be a region to look at this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's going to be some good football this year. I'm excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
And there's a region I'm not thrilled with that I think you're about to get into.
That's the one I was trying to tiptoe around because I'm going to tell you,
let's dive into the deep end of the pool. It was not
My Facebook feed has been lit up with some people that are overjoyed and some that are extremely heated.
Well,
Region 6.
it was not done correctly.
This is the one that I'm gonna be honest with you. So for my viewers in this community, man, I feel bad for y'all. I've already talked with the coach. I told him I feel bad for him. Like I do not understand this. You preach from an AHS standpoint of competitive balance and everything like that. The first school out in this region does not explain competitive balance to me. But in Region 6, you have Clay Chalkville, Douglas, Oxford, Pell City, Pinson Valley, Southside, Spring Valley, and St. Clair County, all in 5A Region 6. And Clay Chalkville, if you followed football at all last year in the state of Alabama, you knew that there was nobody in this state that could touch Clay Chalkville. They knocked off Thompson earlier in the year, which ended up being the 7A state champion. I don't know who all else through that 7A schedule that they play, or, in 6A, but they were a 6A team, but they played some 7A teams. Who all else they knocked off, I can't remember, but there wasn't a team I don't think could beat them in Alabama last year, Greg. And you've got them now in 5A. That don't make any sense to me.
That's a tough region, right? That's a meat grinder. I really feel for my friends at Douglas. And it's not right. I've heard from some of them, they agree. It's just, whether you want to look at it from a competitive balance, geographically, whatever, none of that move makes sense at all for them to be in Region 6.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Lyles briefly yesterday, and I saw him out in public and just told him, man, I'm sorry. I hate to hear, man, the way y'all got kind of done on this little deal. I don't know that this was kind of right. Because not only is it that they're in this pressure cooker, but man, now you're taking a small county school like this that now has to travel all over Birmingham and St. Clair County and Calhoun County to play teams.
Nothing's close.
When you have teams that are in Region 8 that very easily were literally, I looked at it earlier, you're talking about a Boaz that's 3 miles. 3 to 5 miles away that you could play. But now you're them traveling an hour to ball games minimum.
Yeah, I think close to them. I think you can get from Douglas to Pinson Valley in, I'd say, roughly 45 to 50 minutes, probably, depending on traffic on 75. That's going to be the quickest. I mean, Oxford, you're going way out to East Alabama, Clay Chalkville is a haul. Who else are in there?
Pell City.
Pell
City and Oxford is going to be their biggest haul. Pinson Valley, Springville, Southside, they're going to be kind of their closer games, maybe St. Clair County, but that Oxford Pell City is going to be a haul.
Yeah. Southside won't be terrible, but I mean, that's still going to be what? From Douglas,
45 minutes,
45
an hour or less, with an hour with a bus. You got to figure with a bus is going to be an hour. This is going to be slower.
Probably about the same as going to Pinson Valley, just a different direction.
Dude, and they're going to Pell City where Moody's open.
Gain a swim. Yeah.
So
sorry, Douglas.
I feel bad for these guys. It's going to be a tough couple of years for them. But the biggest thing that is concerning with this is now you've got to turn around and you've got athletic clubs and booster clubs that's got to come up with all the funding to be able to cover this travel for these teams to get them there, because they're the ones that have to pay for the bus drivers to cover this if a coach doesn't drive them. And I know a lot of them, to save that money, have coaches that go and get their bus license so that way they can save that money, but still, you got to pay for the fuel and all that. You got to feed the kids. Then you're taking them out of school on top of all that. So, that's going to be a lot of haul on that small community of Douglas there. And like I said, I feel bad for them guys. I wish them the best. We're definitely going to be getting a lot of coverage on these guys. There's a lot of great athletes that we're going to be coming up here in the next 2 to 3 years and be graduating all those classes there at Douglas. So I'm interested to really see how well do they compete with this, because this is not just football. Now this is basketball. This will be baseball, softball. This is everything. So if this is who they have in football, I'm curious in the next couple of weeks, because I believe they said it was February the 3rd or the 5th is when the winter and spring sports would start dropping the new regions for those. So basically in a couple of weeks. So when we have our next podcast, those should be out. If they're not, we may give them one more week before we have a podcast. That way we can look at the winter and spring sports and look at those regions. And by then area would be covered, and we'd be able to see kind of what is the state playoffs. So, but man, this is tough. This is tough for some of the teams, like you said, super excited. I know Albertville, the community at Albertville is super excited about being in that region, finally being able to get out of 7-8 and being able to get down to where they feel like they can compete. But then you got a team like Douglas that got pushed out and got pushed into a meat grinder and a skillet all made in one out there.
Douglas. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, Douglas is right down the road from Boaz or down the road from Albertville. And it's something we don't talk about, Chris. Can you imagine at these games what the gates will be? I mean, if you had Albertville and Douglas, Boaz, which you had last year, I mean, that's real good gates. Now you're going to have, I mean, how good is a gate going to be when Douglas goes to Oxford?
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw Douglas and Albertville play football against one another?
I'm trying to remember the year. I remember it's been a while. It's been.
Could you imagine the gate on that game?
And that would be a competitive game.
Oh, the gate on that game.
I would be
being able to see that, because that's to be the first time they've played each other in forever. And you can't tell me those boys at Douglas wouldn't be playing up to want to beat Albertville.
They would be fired up. It'd be a game. I mean, I guarantee you, if Douglas and Albertville played this year, it would not surprise me if Douglas wouldn't beat them. Just being honest about it, the way the two teams were this year, it would be very competitive. So,
I haven't seen schedules yet, but I would hope they've scheduled each other.
This year, no, I've got Albertville scheduled. Douglas is not on it.
Maybe next year.
And see, I hate that Guntersville and Douglas, we had a good friendly rivalry going on. We will play each other because our three non-region games are Albertville, AHSAA, and Boaz.
Yeah, that's those typical rivalry games.
To keep them, so Douglas got left, and I hate that because I always enjoyed going up against Douglas. I thought we had a real good rivalry going, but now that's gone. So I don't know. There's so many different ways I hate it. And, I hear a lot of people talk about the competition, geography, but I don't hear many people talking about the gates. And Douglas is really on the gate, really got shafted on the gate too, because I mean, another thing too, I hadn't looked at Douglas's schedule. I don't know if it's dropped. But as far as those other teams are, when they come to Douglas, whoever the 5 teams are that'll come, which I don't know what their non-region is, but I mean, how well do you think, for instance, Clay Chalkville or Oxford or somebody, Pell City, is going to travel to Douglas? And I don't mean this real derogatory, but some people might be like, why should I make that hour and a half trip for an easy win? Yeah. And I don't mean that derogatory against Douglas, but I'm sure that's what some people think is, well, why should I take that kind of trip? So I really think Douglas is really getting hosed in more ways than one here.
Well, that's understandable, even from the student standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of students that will look at it and say, man, we're going to go over and we're going to blow this team out. Why do I want to travel to go watch this team why do I want to travel to go watch our team blow this team out?
Yeah.
And I can stay at home, or why do I want to go travel and watch my team get blown out? Students are the same way. It's students and adults all are the same way, and especially when you're adding, just like we were talking a while ago with the Cherokee County, the Good Hope, you start throwing in an hour and 15 minute plus travel for a game. That makes it a lot more difficult to want to turn around and go to a game, So if you're going to do that, you want to go watch something that's competitive. I know I do. I do. And so, so it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. Again, this is for the next 2 years. So But who knows what could happen? I know there's a lot of things going on in the political landscape and the legislature and stuff. Who knows? Who knows what might happen? I don't know. I just know this is what we have right now, and this is what hand's been dealt, and this is what we're going to kind of look at, and we'll kind of go from there. But
I just hate it for them. Really do.
Yeah, I do. I hate it. I hate it for that bunch of Douglas. Like I said, a lot of really good kids there. A lot of great athletes there. So looking at that and looking at how they kind of got the regions done, it really makes me wonder how they're going to do regions for basketball and for baseball and softball. That's going to make it very interesting because, just like we talked about, with volleyball was always a very heated, competition there between Guntersville, Boaz, AHSAA for that region or for that area there for volleyball. Basketball was the same. And then you kind of mixed, you mix Scottsboro in there with that. You pushed Boaz down. It was Boaz, Douglas, Sardis, and Crossville. But then we had AHSAA, Fairview, and Guntersville and Scottsboro here. So now the curiosity there is, how is basketball going to change that?
My guess for basketball, at least one of the regions, I can easily see 5A Region 8 being Albertville, AHSAA, Boaz, Scottsboro. Because then you've got Fort Payne and the Huntsville schools. I think they might have their own. I think those will have their own area for basketball. And then I think you'll have basically the Marshall County schools plus Scottsboro for a basketball region. What are your thoughts on that? Because naturally your basketball areas are there's less teams in football. So they try to be a little more geographically friendly, I guess you could say, because it's like this year, for instance, I'll just use my own region. Well, all the teams that are in the region that Guntersville's in, our basketball region is, Scottsboro, AHSAA, Fairview.
Mm-hmm.
So fairly close, and so I could easily see where, you're going to have Albertville in a basketball area with, I would say, Boaz would be a slam dunk. Pardon the pun there. Along with AHSAA, and then you'd probably throw Scottsboro in there. Of course, you could maybe throw Scottsboro also in with Fort Payne and some Huntsville area teams. So it will be interesting how they divide it up.
Now, if you do it similar, because the one thing I was talking to this with one of the basketball coaches the other day, because I was kind of trying to pick their brain to see what they had found out. If you look at basketball's area typically follows volleyball. And so if you look at 5A volleyball, area 15 is Albertville, Boaz, Douglas, Southside. I could easily see that. I could easily see area 16 then being Fort Payne, Lehigh, May Jemison, Scottsboro. I could see that. And then what that does then is that pushes AHSAA out. AHSAA then would get pushed out and bumped out. And they're in area 12 in volleyball, and they have Coleman, Hartselle, Jasper because they're the most west team in Marshall County.
Something I didn't even think about, Chris, but even though Douglas kind of got shafted in football, do you think in basketball they could come closer to home, or do you think they're going to keep them in that further off? Or well, if they could be closer,
I think they stay home on basketball. I think in basketball, I think it actually might follow what you see in volleyball, because if you look at the map and the way it's laid out with volleyball, I very easily could see the regions being, or the areas being, what it is in volleyball for basketball. And I'm going to tell you something. If that's the case, AHSAA just got proed into the beat grinder when it comes to basketball, because Coleman has a phenomenal basketball team. Jasper always has a really good basketball team, and so does Hartselle. And then if you start looking at it from a baseball, softball side, same thing. All three of those teams are really good. Hartselle known for making title runs in the ways running. Coleman, same thing. They're just, right now Coleman has a I don't know if you saw him or not, but Coleman has a basketball player right now that is a freshman. He's the same age as my son. He's actually he's probably about 8 or 9 months older than my son, but he's just now turned 15, and the kid is almost 6'10". He's been playing varsity basketball since he was in 7th grade. And just phenomenal athlete. Like, man, I'm serious. I looked up to him, and he's like a grown man, and he's still in high school. And this is what they're about to have to start facing next year.
It'll be interesting when it comes out. It'll be very interesting. Hopefully Douglas will come closer to home in the other sports, unlike football. So
I think they do. I think with basketball, you basically see that centralized Marshall County one right there with Southside being the outlier. The only thing that I could see them do is maybe push Southside, and they might come more pulling in Fort Payne to keep Fort Payne from having to travel so far to Huntsville. That is the only thing I could see is possibly a Southside Fort Payne swap there.
Well, with Guntersville in 4A now, I'll be very interested to see what their basketball area will be.
Yeah, so if we look at that, like I said, following that, so
I wonder if
Guntersville, it looks like it would be Cherokee County, Crossville, Guntersville, Sardis is what it looks.
Yeah.
The only thing that might change that, but I don't see that happening because they're so far west, would be Brewer, but Brewer is over there with Ardmore, Priceville, West Morgan.
Yeah.
I don't see them moving them. So I'm very confident. I mean, you got Fairview, Good Hope, Hayden, West Point. Those guys are all right there around Coleman County and all that area. So they're not going to move that. So I don't see that. I think you're pretty well locked in right here that your region or your area 16 for basketball is going to be Cherokee County, Crossville, Guntersville, Sardis. I'm 98% confident on that one.
Yeah.
The 5A one though is the weird one because you have so many in this densely, in this little area. They're so densely populated right here together.
How they break it down.
Yeah. Because Fort Payne's a way outlier. Scottsboro's this way outlier, way up here, away from everybody. And then you got to go all the way to Huntsville. And so it's, the Marshall County, and then you got this one, it's like a 4 and a bonus. So you got to pick 4 schools out of this area, and then you got a bonus, you got to kick somebody. So who do they kick? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Douglas and Boaz is used to being in the same region or area for basketball, so they might keep them together again.
Yeah, I think that I honestly believe Albertville, Boaz, Douglas is a region, and it's just whoever they decide to throw in there, either Southside, AHSAA, or Fort Payne, Scottsboro, whoever.
And my gut feeling is AHSAA is going to probably go more maybe toward Huntsville.
I think they'll go more west towards Coleman. Yeah. Yeah, because you got that south team down there, not really, they're not really a south team. They're a north central or northwest team there with Jasper, and somebody's got to pick them up. So that's why I would say, and with that being the case, then ARAB's got a lot of traveling for basketball. A lot.
I could see that 4th team being Southside or possibly being Fort Payne. Because Fort Payne and Albertville have been region foes before in basketball.
Yeah. It won't be Scottsboro. Scottsboro is going to be with the Huntsville teams. They're too far north, and so they're going to get shoved because they're up there by themselves. So they're going to get shoved with the Huntsville teams. It's whoever it's going to be. It's going to be either Fort Payne, Southside, or ARAB. And however they decide to do that, that's what's going to be interesting to see, though. But yeah, so this is
changing times.
Yep, it's a lot of chaos, but it's going to be. I'm looking forward to some of these games and everything like that. Again, I know there's some excited communities and there's some that are not excited. They're still upset, but we're going to do our best to cover it. And try to get there. I'm looking forward to football media days when that gets here.
Oh yeah.
So one thing we will be doing, I know we did tennis and soccer, so we will be trying to put together a volleyball media day, for all the county teams and city teams, but all the teams in Marshall County. We're going to try to push out. We'll try to catch some of the teams from Sardis, Possibly maybe try to catch some of the Darlene, some of the other teams in kind of this little bit of a viewing area here, listening area. So we're going to try to invite some more teams besides just those if we can, allot the time there for that. So, but that'll be a first there to have volleyball. So
that'd be great because there's a lot of good volleyball teams in the area. Good volleyball.
You got Guntersville coming back after winning the state title, and they walked through a lot of these private schools. They went through 3 private schools to win the thing. And, so why that says how good they were.
Won't have to worry about that anymore, though, I don't guess, will we?
Nope, not for 2 years.
Yeah, at least for 2 years.
Yep. So other than that, like you said, we've got area coming up for basketball here in the next couple of weeks. We'll be transitioning. I know baseball and softball has already started practicing. Those guys, first day of competition, I believe, is the 19th of February, which is a Thursday. A lot of the schedules are out there. So it's going to be interesting as we transition these next few weeks from this super cold weather into a sport that is typically a summer sport. So this will be interesting. So, any final thoughts though, Greg?
Well, as far as basketball goes, before we get to area, a lot of games coming up this final week of the season next week, which with the weather, I know some games for Monday have already been postponed or moved. I know I was supposed to cover Guntersville and Boaz. That is already, while we've been on this podcast, that has officially been moved. But there's plenty of games between Tuesday and Friday. I know with Guntersville, I'll be broadcasting against Grissom on Tuesday and then got to make the trip to Albertville on Friday. So there's a lot of basketball packed into this final week of the year, and then the teams will be turning right around pretty quick and getting ready to play in area where that first round of areas win or go home.
Yeah. So with that, this is where we'll call to end our podcast. Greg, I want to say I appreciate you coming in and giving us some insight here on all this with this reclass and your input. I know this is going to be interesting going into the next several months, but want to thank Steven Spiegel. I know a lot of guys don't see him there, but we want to thank Steven for helping us out with all the media and video side of this. So with that, we're going to call this the end of the podcast. And so we'll see y'all in the next few weeks. Again, don't forget this next Saturday, the 31st, we will have both tennis and soccer media days. Jump on. We want to encourage you to jump on there, share it, get on there and ask some questions. We're going to let chat ask some questions too. We will filter those questions, but if you got some comments, some things you want to ask the players or the coaches, we'll filter that. And if we feel like it's a good question, we'll push that through and we'll ask those questions for you. But we want to engage you and get you to engage these players as well, because this is about them. So with that, we want to sign off here. Again, for myself, Chris Bouldin, Mr. Greg Glasscock, we thank y'all, and we will see y'all in a few weeks.
See ya.